Hi guys, how you doing? Have you ever wondered what it's like to live with an ADHD person? I can explain it to you. It's Sunday afternoon and you're bored and you think, I'll dye my 11-year-old son's hair with vegetable colour, bright pink, without gloves, because it's vegetable colour, so it'll come out of your hands, right? Wrong! It doesn't come out of your hands. I look like Violet Beauregard, and if you don't know who that is, get off my channel. You are not my tribe. Today, we are talking about boundaries. Now, boundaries, particularly for my generation of women, it's a really tricky subject. We were effectively raised, conditioned, and taught to not have boundaries. We were taught to be nice, play nicely, be kind. Oh, don't say no. That's horrible. Why would you be so nasty to people? What do you mean you don't want to do that? Well, I need you to do that because so and so wants it. Oh, well, you're no fun, are you? Where's your sense of humour? How much did you say you were charging for that? All of those things. Those are the sorts of things we've heard for our entire lives. So we've been conditioned to believe boundaried women are difficult and challenging and bossy and wrong, and that a good woman is a nice woman. As a result, we very often end up feeling angry, depressed, frustrated, and weighed down by our lives. And we don't always know why. It's really important for mental health that we learn where our boundaries are across the board in our lives. This is absolutely consistent across everything. And how to be comfortable with putting a line in the sand for those boundaries. Now, I've had an example of this week with my teenage son. I had to put the biggest boundary in to our relationship that I've ever done, one that I never thought I would have to do, and it hurt. Boundaries can be really painful, but they are there to protect, to show somebody else how you want to be treated, to show yourself what you will and will not accept from another human being or from a situation. They help you understand your place in the world and what it should look like for you. So how do you know if a boundary is being crossed with you? Do you ever find yourself really angry for no reason? Do you feel constantly depressed and put upon, resentful about your life? Do you drink probably more than you should do to cover up a feeling of dissatisfaction, to cover up a feeling of wrongness? Do you often feel like something is just wrong, but you're not quite sure what it is? Those are all pretty good signs that your boundaries are not firm enough on what you want from your life, that you are allowing things to happen in your life that you are not happy with because you are not putting lines in place to tell other people how to treat you. Now, one of the big things with boundaries that we need to accept really quickly, and with those feelings that I've just described, is that we own them. We very often get angry with other people for how they treat us. People treat us the way we allow them to. Even in really shitty situations, even when it's really painful, people treat us the way we allow them to. If we do not allow people to treat us that way, they can't do it. I can give you an example. Person keeps you on a string. You know, if you're dating and they phone you and they condition you to accept a certain level of behaviour and then they disappear and then you let them back in and they do it again, you get really angry with them for doing it. But actually what's usually going on there is you're angry at yourself for allowing them to do it. You are either struggling with your insecurity, with a version of yourself, and you want to be nice and you want them to like you and you want them to accept you, so you're allowing that behaviour. When actually if you put a boundary in place and went, I'm not tolerating this anymore, off you go, they're either going to change their behaviour or they're going to leave. Either way, you haven't lost anything. Same with friendships. Some of you who are self-employed might struggle with rate setting. I've had this problem for years and years. I've only really just been able to kind of manage it for myself. But how much do you charge? X amount per hour. Oh, that's a bit much. Tough shit. That's what it comes down to. Tough. That's what I charge. That's my experience. You don't have to justify it. So, you have those feelings. You're looking at your life right now, you're going, my boundaries with my partner aren't great. My boundaries with my children might not be great. My boundaries with my workplace might not be great. My boundaries with myself are actually pretty bad. I constantly step over my own boundaries because they're not important to me either, because I've been taught for my whole life that my boundaries don't really matter. I feel rubbish. What do you do about that? Well, first up, you recognise this is your shit and you can fix it. Nobody else has to do this for you. Other people around you may continue to behave the same way. It's up to you whether you accept that or not. This is yours. Own it. It's always on you. Number 2, what does a healthy boundary look like for you? Do you need some assertiveness training? Do you need to get really comfortable with saying no? Do you struggle to say no? There's a great book. It's called The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck. I listened to it on Audible in my car when I was pregnant, and my favourite thing in the world was to drive down the road in the middle of summer with the windows open, volume right up, going, I don't give a fuck! Honestly, there's something hugely powerful about learning to say no, and I don't give a fuck, and actually that's not my problem. And I'm sorry if you're offended, but I don't really care. And no, I don't really care if that makes you think I'm not a very nice person, because I'm living for me, not for you. Learning to get really comfortable with that is really powerful. Really powerful. Being able to say, actually, I don't like that. Now, I am not saying this is easy. I've got a friend who keeps calling me something I really dislike. I still haven't told him to stop it. I'm going to have to tell him to stop it at some point because it's really devaluing and it hurts my feelings. But I still find it really hard not to, because I don't want him to not like me. I don't want to cause a conflict. I don't want to... So, you know, we come into these situations every single day. This happens to all of us, all of the time. You'll find it with your kids. You know, you can find yourself getting really angry with your kids because they won't listen to your boundaries. The fact is, they're your boundaries. Now, I have a lot of you who are younger viewers. Your job is to test boundaries. That's absolutely the case. But if another human, whether they're your parent, your teachers, or somebody else, says, you know, actually, respectfully, I don't want you to do that in my home, you're the one with the problem. The irony being, mums, parents, actually, because our own boundaries are so weak with other people, we are also often very guilty of overstepping other people's all of the time. How often have you not respected your teenager's privacy? How often have you not listened to your daughter-in-law when she says she doesn't want to do things that way with her baby? How often have you had issues with somebody saying, well, I don't want to eat that, or I don't want to do that, or I don't want to wear that? If you feel uncomfortable with those situations, that's also a boundary issue. It's your boundary issue, and it comes from not having healthy boundaries of your own. If your own boundaries aren't respected very often, you're not going to respect other people's. But actually, when you start that, you're damaging their mental health as well. So recognizing those situations, understanding how important boundaries are to our most fundamental relationships is absolutely crucial. You can start small. Think about something that niggles you, that really annoys you, that maybe you want to get changed, and simply say no. It might be, you know, it might be something to do with your house, it might be something to do with your work, it might be something to do with the gym, it might be something to do with a car, it might be something to do with a drink. Just something that isn't huge, and start saying no. Now, at first, don't be surprised if that no comes out as, no, I don't want to, I don't fucking want to. You're not a psychopath. That's a lack of confidence. You haven't practiced this. It takes time. It might also come out as, I'm not really sure. Also a lack of confidence. You will get over it. It might come out, your boundaries may come out as procrastination. Have you ever done that thing where you're like, I don't really want to go out, but I'm going to say I'm going to go out, then I'm not going to turn up. And you just don't show. It's because you haven't put a healthy boundary in place. If you were really honest and said, actually, I'm sorry, that's just not for me, you wouldn't be disappointing anybody or being a no-show or being flaky because you put a boundary in place. Recognizing your own needs is boundarying. It's really, really important. Really, really important. It's good for balance. It's good for relationships. It's really, really hard. But over time, you just start to do it as second nature. I told somebody the other week that I wasn't going to accept less than a certain rate. Someone that I've actually given into a number of times over the years, and it felt really empowering. That person was absolutely fine with it. They didn't have a problem with it at all. They were like, right, okay, well, I can't pay that. I was like, okay, fair enough, off you go. And it was fine. It wasn't this enormous showdown. It wasn't this uncomfortable situation that I had in my head. These things are always bigger when we make them. The biggest boundary for those of you who are maybe my younger viewers who are watching this is your boundaries with intimacy. I know you know how to say no, but do you know when you really want to say no? One of the conversations I often have with young people when I'm working with them is, okay, how did you feel afterwards? Do you know what? I didn't feel great. Or, what they will very often say to me is, I'm fine with it. Okay. If you have to say I'm fine with it, you're not fine with it. If in your head you're like, yeah, but it should be like this, or no, it's totally cool, it's totally cool, it's totally cool. If you're telling yourself that you should be a different person or think a different way because other people do, to accommodate a situation, to feel comfortable with something in an intimate relationship, your boundaries are not in place. And that is wrong for you. You have every right to say no to anything at an intimate level that you do not want to do. And your partner should listen to that. And there is nothing wrong with you for doing that. Now, if you do cross over that boundary yourself, you will feel rubbish as a result of it. And it's important to recognise, actually, I didn't like that. I didn't feel great about it. It wasn't good for me. I feel terrible. That doesn't work for me. And learn from that and don't do it again. Recognise what harms you and what gives you strength. Intimacy is a key area where boundaries are really, really vital, and there is nothing wrong with you having one. And it doesn't mean that there's, a dangerous or icky situation going on there. Just people don't always recognise what's good for other people and what's not. So get really comfortable with just saying, nah, sorry, not tonight. Don't want to. Yeah, I don't really like that. Why don't you try this? It's important. And actually, you know what? Being perfectly honest, I think I've got plenty of 40-year-old viewers who could probably learn that lesson as well. Boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are good, and they are vital for us all to have safe, effective, healthy, open, happy, balanced relationships, not just with everybody else, but with ourselves. See you later, guys.